Welcome to YMCA of San Francisco's Classrooms for All. My name is Lakiesha, and today we will be talking about singular and plural nouns. Now, we all know that a noun is a person, place, or thing, or an animal. For the most part, when we are talking about nouns, we are talking about the singular. But if we want to add more than one, then it becomes plural. For example, I have boy, I have girl, I have car, and I have school. Boy, girl, car, or school. These are all singular nouns. Singular means one or single. If you look up here in the word singular, you can kind of see single a little bit. That is to indicate that there is one noun. What happens when I change it to a plural? What do I always add at the end of my nouns? If you guessed an S, you are right. Let's go ahead and change some of these singular nouns to plural nouns. Let's see. So over here I have boy, which becomes boys. Over here I have girl, which become girls, which becomes girls. Over here I have car, which becomes cars. And over here I have school, which becomes schools. They are now plural nouns. So if you look over here, I have the word plural spelled out. P-L-U-R-A-L. Within the word plural, there is the word plus. We don't have an S when we spell the word plural, but plural also means plus. That means we're adding more than one. So boys, girls, cars, and schools are plural nouns. That means that there is more than one. What is interesting about our nouns is that they not only end in S, but they also end in ES and IES. In fact, sometimes we also have a few nouns that don't end in an S at all when becoming plural. They are woman and man. If I tried to make these into a sentence, you would think that I would say, the womans have nice dresses. And I might add that there's actually a plural noun in this sentence at the end. But let's not take our focus away from this plural noun right here. The womans have nice dresses. I can understand why you think that woman would have an S at the end and make that into a plural, but that is not how we use woman to make a plural in a sentence. We actually change the AN to an EN and it becomes women. The women have nice dresses. So our plural, which was woman, now becomes women. Women is more than one woman. The same goes for man. You would think that we might put a sentence such as, the mans drove around town today. But guess what? We never say the mans drove around town today if we are talking about more than one man. we simply change A-N to E-N. The men. The men drove around town today. That lets us know that it is more than one men. It's very rare that a singular noun will not end in an S, but in some cases, such as with the words woman and man, they don't end in an S at all. You simply change the end of woman to EN to make it more than one woman, which is women, and you simply change man to MEN, men, which makes it more than one men. Okay, let's go over some other plural nouns. Let's go over some plural nouns that just end in S. Let's go over some of those. And then we're gonna go over some that end in ES and IES. So, nouns that only end in S are girl. Let's just deal with these three for now. I have girl, which would become girls. I have boy, which now becomes boys. And I have kid, which now becomes kids. I could also take the word key, and that would become keys. That would end in a plural noun. Let's use these plural nouns in a sentence now. We had girl, now we have girls. The girl wants to play. The girls, actually the girls want to play. And I'm actually gonna write the singular now because I'm gonna show you something else that is quite tricky. So now I've used girl and girls in a sentence. Girl is the singular noun, girls are the plural noun. Let's go ahead and take a look at these sentences. The girl wants to play. That's the singular sound. The girls want to play is the plural sound. Girl is singular, girls is plural. However, in our first sentence, which was singular, the girl wants to play, the verb wants has an S at the end. However, when I change that noun to a plural, the girls want to play, the verb want does not have an S at the end. So that is something to remember about changing a singular noun to a plural noun. The verb loses its S at the end when you change it to a plural. Let's try another one. Let's try boy. The boy loves to fish. The boy loves to fish. Now let's go ahead and change it to a plural noun and see what happens to our verb. Loves. The boys love to fish. So once again, in our sentence with the singular noun, the verb had an S at the end. However, when we changed it to a plural noun, the verb loses its S at the end. Let's go ahead and take a look. The boy loves to fish. And let's put our period at the end. We can't forget to put our period at the end of our sentences. And now let's see what happens when we change boy to boys in a plural sentence. The boys love to fish. Now, love loses the S at the end. So those are some examples. So we talked about nouns that end with an S when changing it to plural. For girl, I gave you girls. For boy, I gave you boys. For kid, I gave you kids. For key, I gave you keys. But did you know that if you have a noun that ends in X or SH, that the noun will end in an EX. Let's go ahead and find out how that works. I have the word fish. I have box. I have bush. And let's see if we can add another one over there to see how we're going to change it to an ES. Let's see. Let's do kiss. All of these are singular nouns. I have one this one ends in an S. It doesn't end in an SH, but you'll see how it ends in ES as well. I have kiss, I have fish, I have box, and I have bush. Let's think of a sentence for kiss. Let's think of one. And I'm going to put the S and the XH up a little bit higher so I can write some sentences that end in ES. Okay, kiss ends with S. Let's do it in the singular form. The girls kiss their mom good night. The girls kiss their mom good night. Now, if you notice in this sentence, I already have a plural noun, which is girls. Let's see what happens when I change it to a singular noun, girl, and this becomes a plural noun. Let's see. The girl gives her mom kisses good night. The girl gives her mom kisses good night. Kiss went from K-I-S-S to K-I-S-S-E-S. There is our ES at the end of our singular noun, which is now made it plural, which is kisses. Let's go ahead and try another one. So we made a sentence with the singular noun kiss, which became kisses. Now fish is going to become fishes. And let's write a sentence. The fish lives in the pond. Okay? So once again, we have our singular noun, which is fish. The fish lives in the pond. Let's go ahead and make it plural and add that ES to the end. Let's see. I think I can write it right here. The fishes live in the pond. Once again, our singular noun that ends in SH now has added ES to the end. The fishes live in the pond. And as you can see and notice once again, when the sentence was with a singular noun, it was the fish lives in the pond. The verb had an S at the end of lives. However, when I changed it to plural, the verb live loses the S and it becomes the fishes live in the pond. See how easy that is to remember? Let's go ahead and do two more. We have box and we have bush. Let's see. Box is obviously going to become boxes. It ends in an X, so it has this EX. And let's start with box first and then we'll go to bush. Let's see. The box was delivered yesterday. Okay, so I have the sentence, the box was delivered yesterday. Let's change that to a plural with an ES at the end. The boxes were delivered yesterday. So let's go ahead and look at both sentences. The box was delivered yesterday. Usually in a singular noun sentence, the verb will have an S at the end. In this sentence, it didn't. Even when we changed it to a plural noun sentence, the verb still remained the same. The boxes were delivered yesterday. However, in the first sentence, which was singular, I had the box was delivered yesterday. In the second sentence, which was plural, I had the boxes were delivered yesterday. In this sentence, the only thing that changed was and were. Okay, now we have one more that ends in ES, and this is bush. So I'm going to go ahead and erase this sentence, and we're going to think of a sentence for bush and bushes, which would be the plural. And let me go ahead and underline these just to really reiterate that plural nouns that end in S, SH, and S will have an ES at the end. Let's see. Okay, let's think of our last sentence for bush. The bush was hidden behind the trees. Okay, so we have the bush was hidden behind the trees. The bush was hidden behind the trees. Let's see what happens when we make it plural. The bushes, and there's our ES at the end, were hidden behind the trees. Okay, so we have our singular sentence with bush. The bush was hidden behind the tree. And then we have our plural noun sentence with bush. But now it's become bushes with the ES added on the end. The bushes were hidden behind the trees. Sentence in the plural was were. That was changed from was, which was in the single sentence. The bush was hidden behind the trees. That was the singular noun sentence. The bushes were hidden behind the trees when I changed it to a plural sentence. Okay? So now that we've gone over sentences that end in S and ES, let's go over some sentences when changed to plural that end in IES. Usually those words are going to end in a Y, and I'm going to give you some words that end in the Y. Let's do fairy, bunny, daisy. So words that end in a Y are going to end in IES when changing that singular noun to plural. Let's go ahead and start with fairy. That's now going to become fairies. F-A-I-R-I-E-S. Fairies. Bunny is going to become bunnies. So instead of B-U-N-N-Y, it becomes B-U-N-N-I-E-S. And daisy, which is spelled D-A-I-S-I-E-S. Let's go ahead and use each of these in a sentence. Okay, let's start with fairies first. Okay, so I'm just going to erase these two right here that I've added a plural to, just so I'll have enough room for fairies. Okay, let's go ahead and do it. Let's start with a singular sentence for fairy. The fairy granted her wishes. So I have the fairy granted her wishes. The fairy granted her wishes. That is the singular noun of fairy. and it ends in a Y. But now I know that when I add a plural, I'm going to drop the Y and I'm going to add IES. So let's go ahead and change ferry to a plural sentence. Okay, let's see. I'm going to erase this ferries right here that I've added a plural to, just so I'll have enough room to make a sentence for ferries. Okay, the fairies granted her wishes. So let's go ahead and work with the sentence fairy. As we can see right now, it is F-A-I-R-Y. So let's go ahead and look at our sentence that has the singular noun fairy. The fairy granted her wishes. Now, let's go ahead and look at the sentence with fairy as a plural. The fairies granted her wishes. That is more than one fairy. Now, if you notice, granted is the verb in each sentence. It didn't change at all. Sometimes in a singular noun sentence, the verb has an S at the end, and when you change it to a plural noun sentence, that S is dropped in the verb. And each of these sentences, granted stayed the same. The fairies granted her wishes. The fairy granted her wishes. All right, see how that works? All right, let's go ahead and use bunny in a sentence. And since we have our Y at the end, we are going to change that to IES. But first, before we do that, let me just write down the plural, fairies. Fairies, okay. And then bunnies is B-U-N-N-I-E-S. So let's go ahead and use that in the sentence. Let's do this one. The bunny is cute, soft, and white. So I've got my singular noun sentence. The bunny is cute, soft, and white. And we cannot forget our period. That is very important. It can't be a complete sentence until it has the period at the end. The bunny is cute, soft, and white. Now we know that bunny is a singular noun that ends in a Y, so we're going to add an IES to it. So let's change the bunny to plurals. Let's think of a sentence. The bunnies ate carrots all day. So, our period at the end, the bunnies ate carrots all day. That lets us know that there was more than one bunny that was eating carrots all day. And as you can see, it was a Y in this sentence, but when I changed it to a plural, it became IES. Okay, and I actually switched it up a little bit. When I had my first sentence, I wrote, the bunny is cute, soft, and white. And then I changed it up a little bit. When I put bunnies, I thought of a different sentence. The bunnies ate carrots all day. But the whole point is that any singular noun that ends in a Y is going to end in IES. Okay? Let's do another one. Let's do our last one actually, which is Daisy. Okay? Daisy, which has a Y at the end, is now going to become D-A-I-S-I-E-S. We dropped the Y and we added IES. And I'm going to underline IES in each of these singular plural nouns. They are singular over here, but they're plural over here. So let's think of a sentence for daisies. And I'm just going to erase this just so we have enough room. Okay, let's see. The daisy is my favorite flower. And it does happen to be one of my favorite flowers. The daisy is my favorite flower. Let's make my period a little bit more legible. So I have my singular noun, which is daisy. Notice how it ends in the Y. What are we going to put at the end of it when we drop the Y and we make it plural? You are right. We're going to add IES. And let's go ahead and think of a sentence for daisies. Or I could use the same sentence. I can actually say daisies, D-A-I-S-I-E-S, are my favorite flower. So there we have it. The daisy is my favorite flower. But if I want to say that I like more than one daisies or just daisies in general, I put daisies are my favorite flower. Awesome. All right. We talked about singular nouns and we talked about plural nouns. We talked about some singular nouns such as boy, girl, and key. Put girl at the end, okay, L at the end of girl. Boy becomes boys. We only added an S. Girl becomes girls. We just add an S at the end. Key becomes keys. These are nouns that just have an S at the end. Even though I did go over in the lesson that any noun, singular noun that ends in a Y is going to have IES, for some reason this word key is the exception. We also talked about singular nouns that end in S, X, and SH, and how when you change them to a plural noun, they have the ES at the end. So X, S, and SH. Those nouns were box, kiss, bush, and fish. When we made them plural, they became B-O-X-E-X, boxes, B-O-X-E-X, boxes. Kiss became K-I-S-S-E-S, kisses. Bush became B-U-S-H, B-U-S-H-E-S with plural, and I'm gonna underline this. And fish became fishes. And last, but definitely not least, we talked about how certain nouns, when ending in a Y, added an IES to the plural. For example, we had bunny, we had daisy, and we had fairy. Okay, so bunny was bunnies, B-U-N-N-I-E-S. We're underlining that IES because we dropped our Y. We had daisy, which become daisies, D-A-I-S-I-E-S. I drop my Y and I add I-E-S. D-A, yep, that's correct. And fairy, which becomes fairies, F-A-I-R-I-E-S. So those were the things that we talked about when we add a plural to a singular noun. Well, I'd like to thank you so much for joining me for singular and plural nouns. Join us at YMCASF.org/classrooms4all for more fun classes. See you again soon.
Did you know that YMCA of San Francisco never closed? When shelter-in-place happened, we could no longer provide in-person programming. We quickly shifted to provide youth and family programming virtually. As early as April, we started providing on-demand activities in our YMCA of San Francisco YouTube channel.
For this video, we're going to be making a geodesic dome.
Today, we're going to be making a hovercraft. The science around this activity is really awesome.
In addition, we have a regular schedule of activities for our youth and families to join live. We feature read-alouds, yoga, family Zumba, arts and crafts, drawing clubs, and more. So don't miss out on our virtual youth and family offerings. Visit www.ymcasf.org for more info and class schedules.